In the recent era of anime, the Dark Trio have been making their mark as some of the most thought out, entertaining, and enjoyable anime that I've ever experienced, with each of them bringing something completely new to the table. With Jujutsu Kaisen, Cursed Energy introduced a power system that I would dare say rivals the complexities of Nen from Hunter x Hunter. Chainsaw Man highlights a protagonist whose only real goal is to touch some melons with no clear direction or goal in life. And with the latest entry, Hell's Paradise, we're introduced to an anime filled to the brim with intriguing characters, a mysterious dark world, and incredible action set pieces that don't shy away from graphic content. But what I find to be more beautiful than anything is the development that its characters go through and what they figure out in themselves on the perilous quest for immortality. In this video, I want to discuss all things Hell's Paradise and put in my 2 cents on why I believe it's a must-watch for any shonen or seinen anime fan in 2023, and just an amazing series as a whole. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. For those of you new to the channel, my name is Dill, and it's my mission to explore the very depths of all that anime has to offer. If you enjoy this content and want to support the channel, consider liking the video, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell so you never miss when a new video is posted. Also, I'll do my absolute best to avoid spoilers for anyone new to the anime or manga. As a start, I'll explain a brief overview of Hell's Paradise for those that aren't familiar. Set in the Edo period of Japan, the show mainly focuses on the story of former ninja Gabimaru. Having been imprisoned for the crimes and countless murders that he's committed, he's been placed on death row and tried for execution. With multiple failed attempts at his execution, he's offered a chance to redeem himself. The Shogun of Japan, obsessed with power, heard of a legendary elixir of life on the mysterious island known as Shinsenkyo, which roughly translates to Divine Paradise. Gabimaru and 9 additional death row inmates are assigned to travel to Shinsenkyo, an island that nobody has returned from alive, in search of this elixir, but he won't be doing this alone. Accompanying the inmates are 10 swordsmen of the Yamada clan, one assigned to each prisoner. The Yamada clan are a group of elite swordsmen and swords testers who are responsible for executions of notorious criminals. I'll be completely honest here, but with regard to the general story of Hell's Paradise, there really isn't much going on from a narrative perspective. But I do believe that this relatively straightforward plot allows each of the characters to be fully fleshed out and for the overarching themes to really be the main drivers, which are 2 aspects we'll be talking about later in this video, which leads me directly into my next point. The character of Gabimaru is one of the most interesting main protagonists that I've ever seen in recent anime. Being a famous ninja with an epithet that labels him as a heartless killer, we come to quickly learn that he's anything but that. He actively goes out of his way to avoid pointless killing and even finds it to be a burden when being forced to kill during the inmate culling in chapter 2. Additionally, I find the dichotomy between Gabimaru and Sagiri to be so fascinating since they essentially act as the therapy for one another. Gabi continues on through life with the countless murders that he accumulates, telling Sagiri that it's completely normal to feel the fears associated with taking a life, but instead of trying to run away from that fear, she had to do the opposite, hold on to it. Hell's Paradise emphasizes with all their characters to open up to their inner weakness so that the strength within them can manifest. And with the cast of characters being relatively small and manageable, I love that throughout the story we're able to explore a core part of the inmates and executioners alike. But through all else, the themes of this story are really what tie everything together for me. Throughout the entire manga of Hell's Paradise, the theme of getting stronger both physically and mentally are harped on so many times. We're led to believe in the beginning of the story that Gabimaru is a straight up killer with no remorse for anyone or anything. And while there's absolutely no excuse for the atrocities he's committed during his time as a shinobi, it's absolutely not the case that he's a hollow and empty shell of a person, something he tries to convince himself of multiple times throughout the series. If he truly didn't care about life anymore, he simply would have allowed Sagiri to cut him down in the first episode, and that would be the end of things. You may be asking then, what is it that compels Gabimaru to feel this way? What's the connection to this world that he cherishes and values enough to live by any means necessary? And that's his wife, Yui. Right out of the gate, Hell's Paradise separates itself from other shonen anime in hinting at what strength will look like as the series progresses. Gabimaru, initially believing that the memories of his wife make him weak and less cold than during his time as a shinobi, couldn't be farther from the truth. Additionally, while not giving too much away, the power system in the Jigu Koraku universe, Tao, quite literally increases in response to the natural balance between emotions. In other words, the balance between strength and weakness. And this isn't just the case with Gabimaru. We see this fleshed out in a majority of the main cast and also primarily with the main female lead of the series, Sagiri Asaemon. You see, Sagiri is the swordswoman who was tasked with executing Gabi in the first episode, as well as being his chaperone on the island of Shinsenkyo. Being the lowest rated Asaemon and more so a woman, Sagiri is constantly reminded by multiple characters throughout the series of this. Despite being the daughter of the leader of the Yamada clan and watching her father behead criminals since she was a child, she's still labeled as an outcast purely for being a woman in a predominantly male line of work. If those pressures from her time period and peers wasn't enough, there's the additional element to Sagiri's character that absolutely despises killing others. We see her haunted by the ghosts of her past, feeling weighed down and hesitant to take action since she's so scared to carry the burden of another dead soul. But rather than paint these two elements as something that Sagiri needs to grow out of, Yuji Kaku the mangaka reframes this idea in that once Sagiri learns to accept and be comfortable with her weaknesses, this leads to true strength. In this universe, and I think life as a whole, being strong doesn't mean considering one side of things and discarding everything else. Being strong means taking a life while still shouldering that burden. Being strong means being a killer yet acknowledging the reason why you had to do it in the first place. Being strong means acknowledging your weaknesses and continuing to move forward anyways. And these themes continue to make themselves more and more pronounced as the group encounters all the weird shit they find on Shinsenkyo. Both Gabi and Sagiri, while facing the countless threats of the island, find their emotions to be a burden and a distraction for them. For Gabimaru, it's his humanity and love for his wife who he tried to convince himself didn't exist. This message is central to the main narrative of Hell's Paradise, which is that the doubts we have as humans that are considered weak shouldn't be discarded. Because no matter how hard someone tries to suppress their inner emotions, no matter how much they pretend not to care, each and every one of us has feelings. Feelings that make us, well, us. And trust me when I say that I struggle with this as well. I oftentimes would refrain from saying or doing something out of fear from being perceived as weak. But I would argue that the opposite is actually true. There's strength in being able to admit that for yourself, and it's not something to be ashamed of. What the series to me encapsulates is that bottling up anything that you're insecure about or fearful of is the worst possible choice you can make. Whether it's Gabimaru's fear of expressing love for his wife and willingness to live, or Sagiri's acceptance of embracing her role as an executioner, everyone will eventually reach their breaking point or limit at some point. The true beauty of this series is constantly asking us, what does it mean to be strong in an all-encompassing sense? And to me, I agree that accepting the parts of you that make you whole, good or bad, are essential, or else you're just left with the pieces of yourself that don't reflect the truest, strongest you. Furthermore, this isn't something the characters of the series simply pick up immediately upon coming to the island. No, this is acquired through countless trials and tribulations in grappling with the horrors of the island and digging deep into the reaches of themselves. Between feelings of doubt and certainty, fear and bravery, indifference and care, all the characters we get to be so fond of during this manga's 127 chapter run learn to accept all parts of themselves, becoming even stronger as a result. If you've seen or read Hell's Paradise, I'd love to know what you think of it in the comment section below. If you haven't, I'd absolutely recommend checking it out. And with that, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Stay curious, anime fam. Peace.